Hello everyone, I'm here with my January comic reading wrap-up. I read 20 comics. When I say that, I mean either single issues, full volumes, complete collections, that kind of thing. So let's get into it and fast. So I'm going to start off with the ones that were kind of like middle of the road. Not the best, not the worst, but okay. So, first, Ecstatics, Good Omens, Volume 1. This is about what if X-Men were reality TV stars, and what if we held reality TV competitions to pick the next superhero, and what happens when you idolize certain people. Number 2 is Hero Worship. I read issues 1 to 5, that's the complete run. It's a similar idea to Ecstatic, but it's a more detailed look at the public relations side of it, and, the work that it takes to make heroes look like heroes. Number 3 is Calexit issue number 1. This comic posits a situation in which California decides to declare independence after the 2016 election, and we're looking at kind of almost the immediate fallout of that. It's a great introduction to a lot of issues. Then I read Jackpot issues 1 to 6. These are all the current issues that are currently out. This is like Ocean's 11 meets American Gods. It had some interesting ideas, but they weren't explored until quite late, unfortunately, and they felt a little rushed. Number 5 is Shade the Changing Man, American Scream Volume 1. This is about a strange man who crashes into the United States, takes over the body of a mass murderer, and has to save the US from the Scream, which personifies different American obsessions, kind of like the JFK assassination and who did it, or Hollywood and those kind of things. Number 6 is Batman Deathblow After the Fire. So Batman is led to finish the job of a Black Ops soldier, Deathblow, in a superhero, super soldier type story. If you follow Batman Damned, this is done by the same team, Azzarello and Vermigio, so the art is awesome. However, the story, again, suffered from feeling a bit rushed and really jumbled at the end. Number 7, A Walk Through Hell, issue number 1. Government agents are tasked with investigating a strange warehouse. And this is mostly a setup issue, I felt like, and it was done really well, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the story. I can see myself really liking it. Number 8 was Crowded issue 1. This takes place in a world where crowdfunding the payoff for an assassination is a thing, where you can hire a bodyguard from an app like Uber. So Charlie is a seemingly regular girl. She is targeted through the assassination app, and her bodyguard wants to find out why. Number 9 is DC Universe Rebirth. This is the beginning of the new DC cycle. I'm a little late catching up with stuff. Wally West version Flash is stuck in this time thing. I can't remember what they called it, sorry. And he's trying to warn the other Justice League members that something is terribly wrong with their current timeline. I'm now going to move on to what I call the not so good comics. Not that I hated them or that they're really bad. They're more just like they kind of let me down in some way. Number 1 is Southern Cross issues number 1 to 5. So this is about a girl who boards a spaceship to search for her lost, presumed dead sister. Really cool science fiction concept, but I'm not going to continue reading it. There's a lot more issues out. Just because it felt like it was too slow to kind of get to the really cool stuff that it was hinting at. Number 2 is Generation Zero, Volume 1. I think I just have to admit at this point that any version of the Psyots from the Valiant world are not for me. So this is kind of what I would categorize as a YA comic about teenage superheroes that answer the emails of troubled teens. Sounds like a cool premise, but it felt too tropey. Number 3, Her Infernal Descent, and this might surprise some people because I really loved issue number 1. I really loved it, but I think it was just the disappointment of the next few issues. So this is about a woman who's mimicking Dante's descent into hell, and her guides are William Blake and Agatha Christie, and in each level of hell, supposedly, she meets a lot of famous people. Sounds like a great, setup, right? The first issue was really good. And there's a lot of great references. I really liked meeting like Andy Warhol and David Foster Wallace and Edgar Allan Poe and even Agatha Christie and William Blake. But some of the levels of hell only got like a page and not a lot was described about them. There was some interesting stuff going on in the art, but it's just like, why is this like this? Like, you gotta tell us more about these worlds that you're creating. I don't know if they were forced to go down to 5 issues and that's what made it suffer, instead of taking 9 or 10 issues to have each level of hell explored in an issue. I have to throw out an honorable mention. I couldn't put it in my top comics just because, again, it didn't have that certain whatever, but this is going to be one of my favorite comic series I can see. So this is Unwritten, The Inside Man, which is volume 2 in the series. I can't go into detail about what this one is about because spoilers. The series is about this man named Tommy Taylor, who was the inspiration for a series of kind of like Harry Potter-esque tales written by his father. And when he goes in search of his father in his past, he finds that he may not just have been inspiration, and that fiction is not as unreal as it seems. Okay, so my top comics this month, yeah, they're not in any order. They're just the top comics. So first, New Lieutenants of Metal, issues number 1 to 4. Oh gosh, this was so fun. This is about metalhead superheroes led by a gender-fluid character and a panda bear that fight the evil boy bands led by a villain named The Beeb. It's just a lot of fun, great colors, feels like what would be a great cartoon that appeals to both children and adults. And as a bonus, each issue comes with a recommended playlist, which I thought was very cool. Number 2, the TMNT Macro. I read 2 issues last year and I finished off 2 issues this year. I read Raphael and Leonardo this year and they are amazing. These are concentrated on the individual stories of each turtle as they deal with the aftermath of Splinter taking control of the Foot Patrol. And each issue is written by a different artist, is written by a different writer and drawn by a different artist, which makes it really kind of fitting towards each turtle. And it's really, really well done. These 2, I'd say, are the best of the 4 issues that were released. Number 3 is actually a manga, and that's Frankenstein by Junji Ito, and there were other stories in there as well. I just love Junji Ito. The grotesqueness of the details is just, it's amazing. And I go to the face because it's always the face that is always very kind of grotesque and detailed and where the horror kind of comes from. So he literally took the words of Frankenstein and, kind of condensed it a little, obviously. But that the words in the story are taken straight from Frankenstein, and it was really good. It really, and his art really adds another layer onto it because just the monster was great. Next is Testament. So this is really interesting. I read the Omnibus, which is 533 pages long, by the way, but worth it. The Near Future is a replay of the Bible. As these 2 stories are kind of imagined, not exactly side by side, but kind of, almost simultaneously. I'm going to assume you know the stories of the Bible. I'm not going to provide a synopsis of the Bible here, but, the Bible. But in the Near Future storyline, the world's countries are amalgamating under one government, and the US has implanted chips into the youth, seemingly to call them for the draft, but maybe for more nefarious purposes. It's just a great epic story. Number 5 is Seven to Eternity, The God of Whispers, which is volume 1. So this is about an emperor who is taking over the world by promising people their heart's desire in exchange for being able to listen through their ears at all times. It's kind of creepy. And this is also about a group of people who have refused that offer and are fighting back against it. This is just a great story, great creatures, great art. It's very coherent. and intriguing, those other problems I had with things being rushed and jumbled, it's definitely not in this comic. And the best comic I read this month is Divinity. Just as I was giving up on Valiant Comics and this whole thing with the psyops and the YA and the tropiness and the fan service, I read Divinity, and it is amazing. It's about this Russian man who is sent on a mission during the Cold War to reach the edge of space. There he's transformed, given godlike powers, and returns 30 years later, back to Earth. The art, the story, the fact that the author knows that sometimes you've got to not have words on the page, that you gotta let the art tell the story, really was really good. And I'm so glad that there's a lot of other issues here to explore. So this was Divinity Volume 1 that I read. So these are the comics I read in January. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them, and thank you for watching.